Hi, my name is Cecilia Twitchell, and the organization that I chose is Orpha Events based in Charlottesville, Virginia. I chose this organization because that is where I currently work, and I don't yet work in a hospital, but I think the challenge I chose could certainly be applied to a hospital, and that challenge is cross training. So we do about 18 to 20 weddings a year. We do probably 5 to 7 nonprofit events, and our wedding budgets generally start around $75,000. So our weddings are pretty high profile and require a lot of planning and kind of require us to be on our tippy toes. Our members start with Marissa, who is the owner of the company and lead planner, designer. She plans every detail from the ground up and designs every aspect of the weddings and events. I am her second in command. I help her reach out to vendors, put them under contract, plan out the logistics of the day, execute the logistics of the day on the day of. I act as her second as a contact to vendors and execute the ceremony, reception, things like that. We have Stevie and Renee, who are our setup and breakdown specialists, respectively. That might not sound like terribly important positions, but they are, and there's a lot of inherent knowledge that each of them hold for their roles. So a typical night for us looks like Marissa, the lead, and Stevie, the setup, coming in around 11 a.m. for an event. Stevie would dive right into table linens, table setup, just floor plans, all of that, getting really the bones of the event up. Marissa would dive right into talking to vendors, answering questions, talking to florists and caterers, and making sure that everyone is on the same page and that we're going to have a smooth event. I usually arrive a couple of hours before the ceremony because I end the night, so I come a little bit later. I probably come when the setup is probably about 60%, so I help wrap that up. I help get the ceremony going. I talk to bride and grooms as necessary, and I kind of act as Marissa's second, exactly. So Renee probably arrives about an hour before ceremony, and she acts a little bit as the opposite of Stevie. She helps us, of course, run the event. We're all there for the main events, which is ceremony reception, but she helps me in the night after after Marissa and Stevie go home during the reception. So Renee helps me in the night, and I act as the lead planner at the end of the night. So when I objectively looked at our company, I realized that we could not follow into each other's roles very easily. For example, if Stevie were to do Renee's job, she's never there at night, so she wouldn't exactly know how to pack the things away. Even though she unpacks them in the morning, she could figure it out, I'm sure, but it would take a lot longer. And even for me doing Stevie's job, by the time I arrive, most of the setup is done. So even though I look up floor plans every day and I look at them when I'm there, it would take me a little bit longer than it takes Stevie because that is her role and she just knows it so well. So I really think we could benefit from being more proficient and more knowledgeable in each other's roles. I think also Stevie and Renee rely a lot on Marissa and myself to answer questions for vendors. You know, that if, a vendor comes up to one of them and asks them a question, they almost always have to walk you over to Marissa or myself. And it's impossible to provide every ounce of information to everybody, but I think possibly we could work on providing more information to them, which leads me into my approach on how to handle this challenge. And I chose the Shewart cycle, which is also known as the Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle. I think we could sit down and have a meeting with tips provided by each specialist and get them written down and have a cheat sheet so that we could read them and understand them before we were on event day and enacting on them, because reading them and learning them is completely different than doing them. And planning a wedding is kind of like that. Like you plan a wedding and then you execute it, and they're just two very different parts of the process. And in my planning, we would learn a cheat sheet, we would understand it, we would enact it, we would have people training. Maybe each person would train at different weddings. Like one person would kind of shadow the other one a little bit more than we have in the past, and really understand the mechanics of each other's roles. We would check for inconsistencies, of course. Is there anything else that they're shaky on? Is there anything that's preventing them from being completely proficient in handling someone else's role? And then, of course, act on them and fix and provide more information to appease that problem. So the benefits to our clients are I think a little bit obvious. I think we would be more confident. They would be more confident in our abilities when we can answer questions right there and then. When we can just be an even more well-oiled machine. Even if we feel like that now, we can always improve. Our stakeholders are certainly our clients and our vendors. And like I just said, the benefits out because we get just as many questions from our vendors as we do from our clients on the day of an event, or actually even before that too. So, we really could just be better in that way and just be more helpful and just allow them to have more confidence in us. So the costs. Well, the benefits would certainly outweigh the costs. The cost would really only be a couple more hours on our hourly wage, each person at a different event, and it just what's just is no contest on the benefits versus the costs. We would need organizational approval, of course, because Marissa is the boss lady. But luckily, with 4 people and working so closely with Marissa, that is not a problem to get that approval, and I think she would approve. I don't think there would be any kind of reluctance in doing this because each of us would feel better in our roles. And I can see how obviously in a hospital setting that organizational approval would be much more difficult to get, but luckily that is not our problem here. So I'm thankful for this challenge because looking at our company like this, I think we certainly could learn and improve, and this would just really benefit our stakeholders. So I'm thankful for it, and thank you for listening.